On a Tuesday in March 2016, a developer in Istanbul typed one command and 11 lines of code vanished. Not a framework, not a database. 11 lines that add characters to the front of a string until it is long enough. Within minutes, Babel stopped building, then React, then Ember, then thousands of projects whose maintainers had not heard of it. NPM watched hundreds of failed installs pile up every minute, and the number climbed with no explanation in sight. Facebook, Netflix, Spotify, and PayPal all shipped software that, somewhere underneath, needed those 11 lines. The package was called LeftPad. Its author had unpublished it, along with 272 others he wrote. 2.5 hours later, NPM did something without precedent. It put a package back over its owner's objection. 7 days later, NPM changed the rules so a repeat was impossible. The fix worked. It is still working today. In 10 years, no deletion has taken JavaScript down again. That hole is closed, and it has stayed closed. But last week, a worm walked through more than 400 NPM packages that get 2 billion installs a month. Same registry, same trust. So what did LeftPad actually break, if the thing they fixed was not the hole? Rewind 11 days. On the 11th of March, a messaging company called Kik emailed a developer about a small NPM package that shared its name and asked him to hand it over. They owned the trademark. He said no, and it escalated from there. So Kik went to NPM, the company that runs the registry every JavaScript project installs from. On the 18th of March, NPM's founder Isaac Schlueter made the call. The name would go to Kik because people searching for Kik wanted the messenger. 4 days later, Azer Koculu did the one thing the system still let him do. He ran un-publish on everything he owned. 273 packages left the registry in a single command. He wrote that NPM was someone's private land, where corporate is more powerful than the people, and that he did open source because it gives power to the people. Whatever you make of that, it was not about the code, and the code was nothing. LeftPad takes a string and sticks characters on the front until it reaches the length you asked for. 11 lines, no dependencies. A junior developer writes it in a minute, but Babel depended on a package called line numbers, and line numbers depended on LeftPad. Babel compiles most of the JavaScript on the internet, so the moment LeftPad stopped resolving, every build that walked through Babel walked into a hole. NPM's chief technology officer Larry Voss put the decision in one sentence. I cannot see hundreds of builds failing every second and not fix it. So they broke their own rule and restored version 0.0.3 against the wishes of its author. They called it Un-Unpublishing, and NPM's own postmortem is still the best account of it. A week later, the policy changed. Today, you get 72 hours to unpublish, and after that, only if nothing in the registry depends on you, your downloads are under 300 a week, and you are the sole maintainer. That fix has held for a decade, which is why most retellings of LeftPad end right here, with a tidy lesson about not depending on tiny packages, except the lesson is wrong. Deleting LeftPad was the least dangerous thing its author could have done. If your build ran one line of code you had not approved, would you notice? Answer that before you open your log file, because when you type npm install, you are not downloading files, you are running code. A package can declare install scripts, and those scripts execute on your machine before your own code runs with whatever access you had. You do not read them. At scale, you cannot. Take the project this video was rendered in. 19 dependencies in the manifest, 227 packages actually installed, roughly 12 times more strangers than anybody picked. Russ Cox, who runs the Go language at Google, wrote the sentence that explains the next decade back in 2019. We are trusting more code with less justification for doing so. His example was LeftPad, and the habit did not go anywhere. LeftPad still carries a deprecation notice from 2018, and last month it was downloaded 5.6 million times. More than twice the traffic it had the month it broke the internet. There is also a package called is-odd, 1 million downloads this week, so the attacker stopped deleting and started publishing. September 2025, someone phished the maintainer of Chalk. 16 minutes after taking the account, 18 packages with 2.6 billion weekly downloads between them were rewriting crypto wallet transactions in the browser. Then the payload learned to copy itself. A worm called Shai-Hulud stole a maintainer's tokens, published itself into that maintainer's packages, and repeated. Its second wave backdoored 796 of them. JFrog counted 177,000 new malicious packages in a year. Every one of those campaigns used the same door, code that runs at install time. NPM had left it open since before LeftPad and closed it on the 8th of July this year. Version 12 ships with install scripts off by default. You approve them once, and the approval lands in a file a reviewer can read. Line those two dates up. The bug that made headlines was fixed in 7 days. The bug that made a decade of breaches took 10 years and 3 months. Watch what a platform makes convenient, not what its security page says it believes. 27 days later, a worm walked through the front of it anyway. The 4th of August, 2026. Another Tuesday. A maintainer's GitHub account was taken, and a poisoned release went out through a caching library called Keyv. More than 400 package names, over 2,000 poison versions. Keyv alone is downloaded 156 million times a week. It stole cloud keys, registry tokens, database strings, and private keys, then republished itself with the tokens it had just taken. And it carried a signature that verified. The release was built by the real workflow, on the real repository, with NPM's trusted publishing. The attestation proved where the code was built. It was never designed to prove the source was clean, and the source was already poisoned. And then it went somewhere NPM does not reach. It wrote its persistence into the configuration files that coding agents read on startup, not the package, not the install script. The agent's own settings in files that auto-run, that scanners were not reading, and that turning install scripts off does not cover, which is where AI actually changes this, and not the way people usually say it. Last month, JFrog examined 55 security advisories filed by one account. 54 were fabricated. One fake SQLite flaw got a maximum severity score from Red Hat before anyone checked whether the function it blamed existed. Affect Berger, the researcher who found it, named the asymmetry. Generative AI has lowered the effort to produce a plausible-looking advisory to close to 0, while the effort to verify one is unchanged. The backlog of unreviewed vulnerabilities went from 17,000 to 27,000 in a year. The same asymmetry hits packages, though not the way you would guess. Models invent fewer fake package names than they used to. A study across 16 models put the rate near 20%. The same test on 5 frontier models this year put it between 4 and 6. Better and not 0. Andrew Nesbitt named the part that actually changed. Agents resolve packages programmatically without a human glancing at the name to notice something is off. The last person reading the name is what gets removed. So here is where I land. The villain is not a developer with a grudge or a company with a trademark. It is install time convenience. The idea that a default which saves you 10 seconds is a neutral engineering choice. For roughly 95% of teams, the fix is unglamorous and fits on one line. Run npm CI with install scripts off, keep the lock file pinned, and wait a day before taking a brand new version. The rest are packages that actually compile something. Approve those once in a file somebody reviews, and the concession is real. Small modules are why JavaScript shipped faster than any ecosystem in history, and I would still take a registry over vendoring every utility by hand. The argument is not against dependencies, it is against dependencies that execute, which leaves the question the last 2 weeks raised. That worm's persistence did not need npm at all. It went into the file your coding agent reads before you type anything. So when an agent installs a package for you, who approved it, and what would approved even mean if the name was read by no